I'm back. Hello, everybody. It is Nerds That Know. I am Duchess Bobby, and I am returning for a temporary bit here. But I have been drinking most of the evening, and so I will most likely end up in a bubble bath before the end of this episode. However, with me tonight, we have I forgot to turn the volume off on my phone.
It's your first day.
You know what?
Jesus,
It's been a minute.
it's already amateur hour.
We have with us this evening the
45
pantsless
seconds.
wonder, my beautiful husband, Goon.
I'm currently wrestling with a furry little monster on the floor.
And he doesn't mean my vagina.
I was gonna say, does it touch the floor?
Only when I'm laying on my tummy. We also have with us the bright red and ashamed to be recognized as family, King Goon.
It took us literally less than a minute to go completely off the rails. That's
You're
got to
supposed
be.
keep us on the rails,
That's,
guys.
hey, I'm not
I warned
driving yet.
everybody before we started that we had dinner with the progenitor, and I am not sober. Especially since he showed up an hour and a half late, and I had been drinking since I got there. Okay. King Goon has no words. Also with us this evening is the apparently he's quite good in the sack because he has pretty children, Tank.
Hi, everybody.
For those of you who are new to Nerds That Know, previously when we were discussing Bridgerton last year, it was discussed that the general consensus of that era is the only way to have pretty children is to make sure your wife has an orgasm during sex. And since Tank has pretty children, he's very proud of himself.
Mm-hmm.
So, tonight we are going to talk about things that are relevant to me before I then step away and let the men folk run things because they are more sober than me right now. We're going to start with the fact that an article was released last week and posted on all of our social medias about the top 10 fantasy series that do not include Game of Thrones. According to this particular writer, Game of Thrones beats all of these. I think that they did not include the last season of Game of Thrones when they were taking that into account. But I will agree that the Game of Thrones series was immensely fantastic, as was House of Dragon. I believe King Goon will agree with me.
Correct.
Huzzah.
Huzzah.
It's beautiful when people agree with me because then I don't have to beat them. Okay, so the list, and I'm going to go over it very, very quickly because then the nerds here will be, you know what? Shake your head as much as you want to. I have seen you significantly more after dark than this. I'm just more talkative.
I'm just shaking my head at the beating portion of your statement. That's all.
You know what? Just because my husband likes it doesn't mean you can judge me.
I'm not judging.
Okay, so the movies are, or the shows for the top 10 fantasy series are Shadow
I am not high enough for this. Anyway.
Shadow and Bone, season 2, currently on Netflix. I highly recommend you watch it. It is not on our agenda for the evening, but I will make sure we touch on it sometime in the very near future because I thought that season 2 was almost as good as season 1, and they are still sticking very closely to the books. Number 9, Outlander. Which I have just started watching from the actual beginning. I was gifted the entire book series for Christmas, and I have watched a lot of episodes of Outlander with Mama Sue, but I've never watched the whole thing continuously. So I'm trying that while I am currently on the unemployed wagon. All right. Then we have number 8, The Wheel of Time, which I'm sorry, that should not be on this list. That series sucked.
Isn't that series still going?
Allegedly.
Yeah, and I still think that every episode was stupid.
It was boring.
The
and slow.
Discovery of Witches, which I think is well done. Definitely should go in the top 25, maybe not the top 10, but I'm not this particular author, so whatever. American Gods. Loved American Gods. I thought they did
Fun show.
an amazing job. It's my other brother-in-law's favorite book. And so he very much appreciated this series, especially when they added the God of Guns, which is definitely an American god, even though that particular god was not in the books. It made sense for the television series. This would be the brother-in-law who has written a book. It is available on Amazon for you to buy. Ian Krupnick. I'll let you guys guess how to spell that. But the book is well done. I'm kidding. I'll post the link. Okay, His Dark Materials. Now, this is the adaptation of The Golden Compass. Lin-Manuel Miranda is in this, which obviously automatically makes it worth watching. But for those of you who watched the movie The Golden Compass that had Nicole Kidman in it, that is absolutely nothing like the book. The movie as a standalone film
Trash.
is not terrible.
It is
But if
terrible.
you compare it to the book series, it's atrocious. And this very dark and gritty interpretation being done by HBO really holds true to the books. Okay, number 4, The Witcher. I think we can all agree, fantastic. Anxious to see what Liam Hemsworth will do with this role, but actually think that Henry Cavill has taken the level of Geralt to another place, especially since he is familiar with both the books and the video game, which I feel like is very important for that role. Number 3, Fate, the Winx Saga. Now, for any girl who grew up in the 90s, we've all watched the Winx cartoons. This TV show, which is a Netflix original, is nothing like the cartoons. However, is very good, is dark, is gritty, is very girl power. It doesn't have the diversity that the cartoons did, but it is Netflix, and they're trying to get there. They're just not there yet. Number 2 is Carnival Row. Season 2 just came out on Amazon Prime 2 or 3 months ago. Very good. It has Orlando Bloom. It has fairies. It has mythical creatures. It also has a lot of political statements in this show. Amazon Prime hosts this TV show and has subsequently released a book based on the show, which I highly recommend reading, or if you have Audible listening to. It's very interesting because you get a lot of the character backstory. And number 1 on this list that we posted was Once Upon a Time, the fairy tale series that was on ABC. I know Mama Sue loved that series like nobody's business. I watched it for a little while, and then, to be totally honest, I got bored. So I stopped watching it. All right. And now that I've been talking for the last 9.5 minutes all by my lonesome, I'm going to have everybody else here jump in with their top 3 sci-fi and or fantasy movies. So that way we can post a list for all of you so you can check them out and then give us feedback on why or why not you agree with us. And let me just tell you, you should agree with us. So, Tank, take it away.
Okay. I took out. By the way, I took out superhero movies because a lot of
Yes,
them do
I
have
agree with that entirely. I did as well.
sci-fi and fantasy qualities to them, but I think that's its own category. So for me, I guess my first pick is going to be Terminator 2: Judgment Day.
Ooh, good choice.
Very awesome movie, heavy action, really fun. I think everyone in the world has seen that movie.
All right, King Goon, your top one.
This is my top one.
Yep.
Are you?
He said it was his top one. That's where we're starting. Normally, you
I
would
was going
start
to
at
count
the
it as
bottom.
number 3. That's
Oh,
not my
that was your number 3?
Yeah.
Oh, that's your number 3. All right. This list for me changes almost daily, so this is really just a snapshot into where my head's at right now. The first one I picked, my number 3, it's mostly because one, it's a huge part of my childhood, but it's also one of those rare movies that works its way as a franchise into the cultural mindset. And there's not a single person out there who doesn't know what I'm talking about when I say 1954 Godzilla as a science fiction movie. It spawned hundreds of movies, TV series, cartoons, more movies. It worked its way into hip hop. I mean, there's Godzilla everywhere in pop culture,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think you can throw a rock and not know and not hit anybody who's not heard of Godzilla.
All right, solid choices.
That's not where I thought you were going, but I've got one similar.
All right, my love, go ahead.
Flash Gordon.
Oh, good one.
I mean, you don't really have sci-fi without Flash Gordon.
I thought about it. I really thought about it.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised.
So mine is much more current pop culture, and it's probably because myself, like King Goon, the list is constantly changing. It depends on the day, depends on the mood, depends on a lot of things. And right now, I'm going to say a lot of it depends on the fact that my husband has been having us rewatch all of these films, and I'm going to see the entire Harry Potter series, all 8 books at one, or all 8 movies at one time. And this will lead into our next discussion, so we'll just pretend like this is happening later. The fact that this is still relevant, still being discussed, still being watched, being remade, all of these things, I would say, as far as when you combine sci-fi and fantasy, which too often those two get mushed together, definitely the whole Harry Potter series, all 8 films.
Hank, I think it's your turn to talk about number 2.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go again. Okay.
Number 2.
So
Yep.
I had
Number 2.
actually tough time not doing all Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, to be honest.
That's fair.
Because I legitimately thought about putting Predator at number 2.
That's Milty's favorite movie of all time.
Fantastic
It is.
movie. But I wanted to avoid the going all Schwarzenegger. So I'm gonna go with my number 2 as Jurassic Park.
The original, I would assume.
Yes, the original Jurassic
That's
Park,
a good
not
one.
Jurassic World.
Oh my fucking gosh, it's a dinosaur.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. What the fuck?
I absolutely love that movie, and yeah, it completely captured my imagination as a young child.
I would agree with that. That's a really solid choice.
100%. I don't know if you guys are following our Twitter page, but Nerds That Know just shared the IMDb. I believe it was IMDb who started the whole thread about what image do you see that automatically triggers a film, and of like the 75 comments that I looked at, half of them were either Jello or a glass of water, right? Because that automatically takes you to Jurassic Park. Also, Mark and I are going on a cruise next week, and we were looking at buying the little rubber ducks to disperse along the boat. And there's an entire Jurassic Park rubber duck series that includes a Jeff Goldblum duck, which is supposed to be laying down on its side with like the open shirt. And it's fantastic.
Wounded shirtless Goldblum duck.
It's also like $40 for this one rubber duck.
Yeah.
But it is a fantastic image.
That
All right.
sounds excessive for a rubber ducky.
It's a good Amazon search if you want to look into it.
King Goon. Brother-in-law,
So
oh mine.
This is another movie that I saw young. Wow.
Me. Sorry about
Solid effort. Chew your food, bro.
I tried to keep it in. I didn't want to stay.
Yeah. The mute button works, right?
I couldn't reach my mute button in time, unfortunately.
Good Christ.
So this is another movie that I saw young. When it first came out, nobody really got it. From a technical standpoint, it still stands up. The practical effects in it are amazing. The truth that it held to the original story, even though the original story and the movie are really nothing alike, it still carries the same theme and the same message. It still sparks an amazing amount of nerd rage and debate when you pose one simple question about the movie itself. Was able to introduce my youngest to the long-awaited sequel to this a few years ago. Of course, I'm talking about 1982's Blade Runner. Gorgeous movie, wonderfully written. And the question I refer to is Deckard a replicant? You want to light a bomb in a nerd chat room, ask that and run away.
My next one comes with a theme song. Ba ba da ba 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 da ba ba da ba 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 ba. Talk about genre shaping. Indiana Jones.
Are you picking one or all 4.5?
Yes, all 4.5. Since we're doing that.
That's a good one.
I'm counting Crystal Skulls as half a movie.
Right. Okay, that's fair.
I like to pretend that movie never happened. Okay. For my number 2, I actually thought that Matt might have taken this one, and that is the original Dune. I thought that the very original, we're talking Sting, Patrick Stewart, like fantastic. It really is what like I cut my teeth on to get into that whole book series. I appreciated the remake that was made in the 90s, not because it was any good, but because it then gave us Children of Dune, and I appreciated learning more about that storyline. I really do like the books better than anything that has been done in film. However, the new version, or the newest version, we'll say, of the film adaptation of Dune has me very excited, because I think that so far they're on the right track. But I will say the original Dune movie.
I don't read, so I never read.
I have that book. It's very long, but it is good actually.
I don't know what a book
Read it.
looks like.
I read it in the 7th grade.
You know what it looks
Multiple
like,
times.
honey. You just don't know what all those little markings are inside the pages.
Oh yeah, those are pages. I thought they were leaves.
You know what? There are other reasons why I stay married to him. That is not one of them.
Tank, what's your top one?
Okay, so this was hard. I mean, there's so many choices to the top of the list, but I avoided going the Star Wars route. I did think about that, but my number one science fiction, I think, is actually 2 movies, but it started we'll go with the first one, which is Alien. Ridley
I
Scott.
wondered if somebody was going to take that.
Mhm.
I loved the second one, but I will stick to the hey, sci-fi is not all fancy and colorful. Sometimes it's fucking terrifying. So I went that route. And Sigourney Weaver as a lead, awesome.
Just
That's one of those really good sci-fi horror movies, and it kind of stayed along the visual lines of Jaws, where you never actually saw the thing until the very end, and it was really the specter of the thing in the background that everyone was reacting to, which was genius.
Yeah, it was-
And shout out to H.R. Geiger, man. That guy
And I
created
feel like
a
Alien
monster.
is still as good now, even though we have new special effects and everything else like that. It still has that jump scare. It's still psychological. You still get so much from watching it,
Well, and that's
even today.
when one of the biggest parts of that is that they didn't rely on a lot of over-the-top special effects. They relied on very practical effects, and that, just like as Matt was saying, it's everything that leads up to the scare.
No,
Is what gets
I
you.
agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah, and you don't have to make that splash. You just have to make that effective, and they did an amazing job on that.
So I'm getting texts
Uh-oh.
from our faithful listener Triffin,
Jesus.
who is watching now.
Yeah.
See, I got it that time. First of all, he says that Deckard is a replicant, end of story, and then he sent me a picture of the Jeff Goldblum ducky and said, "You're so right."
Oh, Tristan, I love you.
That is the
So
duck
good.
thing is a fun rabbit hole. Holy shit, there's
That-
a lot of ducks.
That's a good duck.
There are a lot of fucking ducks.
He's got a good haircut too. You have to go check that out.
You need
We
to
should
share that
post
picture
that
with
on the
Tank.
website. Yeah,
Duck pictures.
I'll shoot it over. All right. I have an honorable mention.
Okay.
I went the other way, Duchess. The 1984 version of Dune was certainly an influential movie for me. However, I'm also as big of a fan of the Throne series as I am equally a fan of the Dune series. I've read everything that Frank and his son Brian have put out. The 2021 release of Dune, the first half, is as accurate and truthful to the source material as anything that's ever been put out for anything I've ever seen. And I include what Brian Herbert wrote when he finished the Dune series with Chapter House, and then with all of his prequel work, when you talk about the Butlerian Jihad and the Tleilaxu face dancers and all of the things that he did to kind of flesh out the universe. He never really captured the essence of what Frank came up with in the late 60s with Dune. And that movie was the book perfectly done.
I 100% agree with you on the fact that the newest incarnation of the Dune films is as close to the book as I've ever seen done. And I will even say that for a vast majority of books, not just this particular series. but I feel like I'm gonna stand firm on my number 2 being the original, because I feel like that really brought Dune to the forefront.
Oh yeah, you're not wrong, right? It's just my opinion.
No,
So,
I
right,
and like I said, I agree with you.
right.
You agree with me.
hmm
This is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And the biggest problem I had with 84 was voice lasers. That just Chasa is not. Forget it. Anyway, I'm moving
Understood.
on. Yeah, that's more nerd rage. My number one, again, it's an old movie. One that I'd read the book first, and was actually talking to as a early teenager, my dad, the progenitor, about the movie, and he just wanted to prepare me. He's like, he realized that the first 20 minutes of this movie nobody talks. Just be ready for that. I watched the movie, knowing what was going to happen, but was just enthralled with the
Trippin
suspense.
just texted me and said to say that he loves you too.
There you go. I was enthralled with the suspense, with the story, with the thematics, with everything that was being put on screen. Stanley Kubrick was a genius when he put this together. Of course, I'm talking about 2001: A Space Odyssey. That may actually never change as my number one. I said the list changes from time to time, but that one is going to be on this list, I think, somewhere all the time, and probably close to number one, if not there.
That's a good one.
That's a fantastic one.
And you can take 2010 and flush it. I love Roy Scheider, but 2010 was garbage.
It's so funny to me to look at films like that one, or even Back to the Future, or whatever, and go, oh my God, we're supposed to be in such a different place than we are. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. In one of the book series that I read, this particular decade is around the time of the urban wars, where the entire political system is broken and then rebuilt. So we'll see how close to accurate that book series is. Love, what is your top sci-fi fantasy movie?
Top sci-fi fantasy movie of all time, written by the best, starring some of the greatest. Of course, I'm talking about Spaceballs. The movie that literally pokes fun at all the other movies that you guys have talked about. Spaceballs is, I can be, come rain, come sunshine, any mood that I'm in, I can watch Spaceballs. That's like one of my favorite movies of all time. No matter what's going on, I can always stop and watch Spaceballs, and life is okay for a couple hours.
I think that is something I would hold true to most Mel Brooks films. Not just Spaceballs, but considering we're talking sci-fi, Spaceballs is really unless you want to count Young Frankenstein, this is really the only one that fits this particular category. But I know that you have requested Blazing Saddles on more than one occasion.
Yeah. Galaxy Quest was pretty good too, but
was that your honorable mention?
No, that's not. That doesn't even belong on this list.
No.
Well, you know what? According to Patrick Stewart, it is his favorite Star Trek movie ever made.
That's weirdly unsurprising.
His favorite Star Trek movie is Galaxy Quest. I mean, he's not wrong, but I feel like that's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother day.
That's a rabbit hole we don't need to get down.
Spaceballs.
Got it.
Spaceballs.
All right. And my number one choice, this has nothing to do with the quality of the movie, with the storyline, or even with the first 15 minutes of the movie, because the first 15 minutes of this film make zero sense whatsoever. This is entirely an emotional decision. This is strictly because this is what is pulling at my heartstrings, and that is Serenity.
I knew it. I fucking knew it.
If the lead up didn't tell you, so this movie, if you just pretend that the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes of the film don't happen, because otherwise you have to ignore episodes 2 through 14 of the TV series.
So you have to ignore Firefly completely?
No, technically, you can still acknowledge episode 1. It's just the rest of them. You know, and actually, Mark and I were talking about this. The fact that River is in an institution, you can chalk that up to the fact in the final episode of the Firefly television series, she lets herself be taken by the guy, the bounty hunter. The bigger problem is the fact that Simon can sneak in and pretend like he is just this normal dude, when in actuality his face and all of his information have been on wanted posters for years. But even I want a rocket and a pony, or Dear Buddha, I want a rocket and a pony. The whole thing where Mal is like lighting down and burning the incense when he goes to the Companions Academy to get Inara. That is actually the ringtone for this group chat. So, like I said, this has nothing to do with the quality of the film, the quality of the writing, even the quality of the acting. This is purely an emotional decision. But Serenity.
So there.
No.
I do have an honorable mention. And I didn't until Mark started talking about the film above all films, the one that should get all of this recognition, and that none of us have mentioned, and that is Labyrinth.
That's, yeah.
Spaceballs.
Okay.
Labyrinth is a good movie.
And not again.
I'm not sighing at Labyrinth. Labyrinth is a good movie.
You were sighing at Serenity, and I understand
No,
that.
I was sighing at dipshit
Spaceballs.
McGee back there. Spaceballs. Yes, you already talked about Spaceballs.
I have learned
We heard
that
you.
if you just pretend like this ear is deaf, being married to him is a lot easier.
And before we get hammered at by all the commenters, yes, Star Wars is amazing. I understand. Just didn't fit the top 3. Very good series.
I really considered strongly Star Wars as part of this list somewhere, but
Oh yeah, Empire Strikes Back. I was in my top 10 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I also thought Ghostbusters, and I also thought Back to the
Mhm.
Future, and I also, but they didn't make the list.
Yep. The Wrath of Khan was
Wrath of
definitely
Khan,
yeah.
There are so many incredible sci-fi and fantasy films out there. Choosing a top 3 is incredibly difficult to do, but I feel like this list really does hit most of the niches within that genre. I feel like we have a very comprehensive list. We will be posting this, and I'm happy with what that looks like. I agree with Tank. There are a lot of things that could have made the list if we had done top 5 or even top 10.
Oh yeah.
But that would have been an entire episode, and we're already 34 and a half minutes in. And so we're going to go on to something else.
Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money.
As long as we don't talk about History of the World Part 2, because that sucked balls.
That's why I mentioned the sequel that never happened.
Okay, so King Goon, I now hand you the baton. Please take over running this, because I'm going to go get yet another beverage of alcohol.
This next part is your part. Where are you
well,
going?
Okay, maybe go get me another beverage of alcohol.
Yeah,
We
You're actually
added this.
necessary for the next part.
Yeah,
We
we
did add this
added
just
this
for me.
just for you. You can't go anywhere, you
But
jabroni.
it's empty.
That's not my problem.
Yeah, well, you know what? It becomes my husband's
I
problem.
was gonna
Well,
say it's now my problem.
Yeah, right. So fix it.
Okay,
I-
so this
right.
next part.
hold on before we move on to the next bit and we start talking about what this thing is. I do also again shout out to Triffin who's texting and he's watching on Facebook. He could just comment and we would see it. So I know you're a caveman, bud, and you can't figure out technology, but Triffin also calls out the Matrix, which I think is an excellent choice.
Definitely,
as well. So,
yeah.
definitely had some consideration as well.
Wow, wild one, go way back in time. Go watch Metropolis.
Yeah, Metropolis was good. The day the Earth stood still. I mean, there's all.
I mean, Metropolis is what 100 years old now, almost.
Yeah.
1927,
Mhm.
I think, something like that.
Yeah.
That's a wild ass movie.
All
if
right.
you want to see some old school sci-fi.
All right. All right. So if you were with us a couple of weeks ago, we had touched on.
I just got a text message that says "I love you too." I forgot I had your number.
That's probably
And so
Triffin.
now Mark is making sure that's actually Triffin
Well, because
and
the
not a
second-
random person.
The second text is.
I'm a leaf on the wind, which is a line from Serenity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
definitely tripping.
yeah, that's what.
Dumbass.
So Wash says.
Don't let her lie to you. That's
Yeah.
code.
Actually, this is my secret lover.
Triffin, does Z know that?
You know what? With the
Ask
fact
him.
that he hooked me up with all of that boozamahal and gave us all that for the wedding, it's because he wanted me to be blackout drunk so I would call his name out during sex. Let's be honest.
Oh my good lord.
Okay. All right. So if you were with us 2 weeks ago, we touched on that there is going to be a Harry Potter series being released. They're working on it right now. It's going to come out on Max.
Multiple.
Yeah, and multiple seasons. Each season's going to be. My wife had to show me how to add a comment, but I still think it's better to text y'all. All right.
You know what, Triffin? The fact that you can't spell doesn't make me not love you. I love you and your wife.
Y'all.
So we do have some more news in the Harry Potter world, and we were lucky enough to have the Duchess, who is the Harry Potter expert, on the panel. Duchess, why don't you go ahead and cover what's come out recently?
So I have not been on here for a minute due to mental health and all that jazz. But I'm not sure if we have covered the fact that J.K. Rowling will have a say in the casting as well as the script of the Harry Potter series that is being written for HBO, where each book will be its own series of 8 to 12 episodes long. Each episode will be anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. No, this is in streaming TV time, so that an hour could mean 50 minutes. It could be 55 minutes. It just depends. But we are supposed to be getting a lot more detail in the HBO series that is coming out. They are planning on this series running for at least 7 years, or excuse me, at least 7 seasons, if not more, just because of all of the additional Harry Potter hoopla that has come out over. Just don't do it on camera. Over the last few years. Now, there is some rumors about Hermione Granger being cast as a person of color. More to the point, that of African descent. In the books, it never says what ethnicity Granger is. It just says that she has big frizzy hair, buck teeth, and is incredibly smart. So that, like I said, there's talk about her being a person of color with big hair and such, at least until Goblet of Fire, when she starts using the hair sleeking potions. There are a couple of guys who are currently being considered for the role of Harry Potter. They are at the time 15 and 16 respectively. And the concern with them is not that they don't have the talent. It's that if this or if this TV series, I keep calling it a film, if this series does last for 7 seasons, will they become too old looking to actually portray the character of Harry, who in the very first book is only 11? And that really, I think, depends on the actor and their whole genetic makeup. If you think about the fact that help me with her name, Rizzo, she also played the Mrs. Bartlett.
Carol, no.
Anyways,
Stalker Channing.
Thank you. Stalker Channing was 31, I think, 29, somewhere within that range when she played Rizzo in the original Grease film. And that character was only supposed to be 17. So again, I say it depends a lot on their genetics and whether or not their parents look young when they're in their 20s and older, to see whether or not these actors will be able to hold on to this role. Obviously, we're looking at actors that are either unknown completely or not well known, because they are looking for those who are in the younger generation. They're still focused on Ron, Harry, and Hermione before we get anything else. What Mark and I were discussing yesterday or the day before is that there are some characters I think that could be very easily recast and we don't have to worry. I mean, if you look at the fact that Dumbledore was recast in the middle of making the movie series, because the previous Dumbledore had died and they had no choice but to recast him. But Alan Rickman will be incredibly hard to replace, as will, and I'm sorry, I cannot remember the actor's name, who played Hagrid. I think those are two roles that are going to be very difficult.
And the twins.
Oh, and the twins, yeah. And Fred and George.
Fred and George are going to be really tough.
Who, until yesterday, Mark did not know they were not natural redheads.
I thought they were redheaded.
He did a very good job on the costuming.
Yeah.
So that is where we are with the Harry Potter series. We are not expecting to even see the first episode of this until what is estimated to be 2025. But I will continue to obsess over it, look at articles and social media feeds until I learn more. And then I will randomly pop on here to pretend like I have some sort of mental capacity to continue speaking with everyone and then talk more about Harry Potter and continue to drink. And on that note, King Goon, back to you.
All right. Thank you very much. There is your Harry Potter news of the week. I appreciate it, Duchess. Thank you kindly.
Featuring Sandy Dog.
Featuring, a wild sand dog appeared in the middle
Yeah,
of all that.
she keeps trying to get in my face. I think she's mad at me.
It's just like,
because when Mark got his very first pedicure ever today, which was very amusing for me to observe, my nail technician, whom I absolutely adore, her dog sat on my lap. And so I think Sandy is still a little bit angry with me for the fact that I kind of smell like Violet, because I had a wee pup on my lap and licking my arms and hands for about 90 minutes this morning.
yeah, that'll do it. That'll absolutely do it. So well done. How was your pedicure? I did that before we went to Mexico. For the first time as
would
well.
you do it again?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Why?
It's pretty rough the first time you do it, especially the first time you do it is when you're in your 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he did his, a month ago or 2 months
the first
ago.
time.
And he's close to 50.
That was the first time you ever did it?
Mm-hmm.
I did mine, I don't know, what was that 5 years ago? I think I actually had just turned 30.
I enjoyed it.
Well,
I'd do it again.
Unfortunately, / fortunately for my incredibly lovely husband, he asked me to go with him for his very first pedicure, and so now his toenails are purple.
Of course they are.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else in this place is purple.
Although tomorrow my hair goes pink.
We get pink hair.
Tank, I did ask your oldest for permission to color my hair. Because the last time I tried to color my hair anything other than purple, she hit me.
I remember that.
All right, moving on from family violence, let's carry on and talk about some other things.
Moving on from family annihilation.
Right.
Family violence is still possible. Everybody on this show is related.
Oh my gosh.
The big news in the nerd world over the past couple of weeks has been the stuff that's come out of Star Wars Celebrations, and gang, there has been some amazing stuff.
Mountains of stuff.
And before we really get into that, we also need to touch on some Star Wars recap. Bad Batch has finished up its most recent season. We're now 2 weeks past the final episode, so screw your spoilers. We're going to follow our 1 week rule by another week. It's now been 2 weeks. So, Tank, have you had a chance to watch the whole thing yet?
I did catch up.
Okay, good.
Was very fun. It was a good follow up to season 1.
Yeah, it was absolutely stunning. Without going into a lot of detail, because we could go down a huge rabbit hole about all the things that happened, but the Clone Squad 99's in kind of a tough spot here.
They end the season in a rough way.
Yeah. There better be a season 3 because
yeah, you can't end it like that. Yeah, we found out a lot about the clones throughout the season, and but the big climactic point was the realization that Omega is not alone. There are other clones just like her.
Yep.
And that was the big reveal at the end of the season. What was her name?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I forgot her name, but
yeah,
there's another newer batch of clones, essentially, besides the ones that became the clones in the Clone Wars that we know about.
Right.
Based off more advanced genetics and all that kind of stuff. And it's Omega's the seemingly progenitor of that clone line.
And you get the sense that, and if you're paying any attention to The Mandalorian, you know that cloning and the studied science and execution of is going to be a huge part of whatever stories they're going to be telling.
Yeah, we're going to be tapping into the Mandalorian discussion.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you watch today?
We are entirely caught up on Mandalorian.
No, we haven't watched the one that came out today.
Oh my god.
That one doesn't count because we have a 1 week.
I know. Oh god, we're so going to talk about that in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about that in 2 weeks.
Because it's wild.
Okay, yeah. Because the nerds that know rule is there has to be a minimum of 1 week.
But Frank said, have you guys seen the one that came out today? And I was answering his question.
Yeah. We can talk about last week, yes.
Don't draw me.
But to get back to Bad Batch, yes, we got the big and the batch is kind of split up a little bit, and stranded a little bit.
Yep. And they quote unquote killed off Tech. I don't know if that's really going to be a thing.
I don't know either.
That's that old sci-fi trope. If you don't actually see a body, they're not actually.
It doesn't happen on screen. It doesn't count.
Yeah, it doesn't happen on screen. It doesn't count. So
I'm sorry. Even if you see a body, it doesn't always count. You have to see the actual autopsy taking place.
That's very true. Very true. Omega is in the hands of the Empire. But she is also very close to Crosshair, so there's going to be some sort of way, I think, for them to get out of it without the rest of the clones being able to bust them out. She's going to have some help on the inside.
Well, and Crosshair had some interesting things happen this season.
Mhm.
Leans to him turning again,
Right.
seemingly.
Right. His internal battle over the arc of the season has been interesting. You know, he's always has been, I follow orders, I have to do what I'm told. I follow orders, I'm a good soldier. And then as the season went on, he just
follow orders.
Did not follow and plug that guy right in the chest.
Yeah, you get shut the fuck off immediately. It's like, nope, stop that. Stop that.
You're right. So if you have not had a chance to watch Bad Batch, absolutely recommend watching it. It's been fantastic. Season 1 was good. Season 2 was great in my mind.
Season 2 was better, definitely.
Yep.
You get a lot more of some of the fallout that we know kind of happens. To a certain extent with like Clone Wars and stuff like that. You get a little bit more information about some of the good guys that stay good, which is important, I think, in this universe where there is a lot of bad.
Yeah, absolutely correct. So that's it for Bad Batch. Some more. Now we talk about the news that's come out of Star Wars Celebrations. And I think the biggest news, we're getting 3 more movies, guys. How excited are you for this stuff?
I've seen a lot of people pissed off, but I think it's interesting.
So here's the thing. I think that the Star Wars universe is a story that never has an ending.
That's probably the intent, yes.
The Star Wars universe has so many different things that can be told. However, the fact that they are relying on Rey to basically carry at least the next movie.
The next mainline movie,
Yeah, just, I was never a huge fan of Rey. I kind of thought that she was a whiny bitch. Even after she, learned what to do and how to fight and use the saber and blah, 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 whatever. Like, she and Kylo needed to go to a room, bang it out, and then both characters could have become obsolete. So the fact that Rey is going to have, if not the next trilogy, at least the next film on her shoulders has me less than thrilled.
The interesting part about the Star Wars universe is we got this one storyline about basically one guy, right? Through this whole thing and everything around this one guy, the spiral around him, and it's all about, Skywalker. There are so many other things happening and so many different angles they can take it from. They could do this forever,
Well, and it's weirdly enough, it's not really about Skywalker. It's about Palpatine.
They can do this forever.
Yeah, the Star Wars saga, I don't think is a Skywalker saga. It's a Palpatine saga. It's all about Emperor Palpatine. And now with Rey, it's the continuation of his family line. Right.
Well, same thing. And there's one guy in the center of the whole thing, right? Either way.
But there's no more Skywalkers. I know she took the name at the end of that movie, but there's still no genetic Skywalkers anymore.
None of this is my point. My point is we got the storyline around that one group of people.
Oh, yeah.
And there's several other ways and places that they can fill in with all these other characters and actors. That was my point.
No, and they
can continue to make Star Wars stuff forever.
Right.
Oh, yeah. And they're doing that. That's what, the other, as we've said, the one of the big announcements was that Rey is going to be leading a new movie, where she's going to be apparently getting her own class of Jedi younglings to train. So that's one of the big announcements, which is not a surprise, to me at least. I'm interested to see how they're gonna kind of do that, because they haven't really indicated anybody else with force sensitivity, so that'll be interesting. But
Well,
I
they
kind of thought
teased
that
it
we were done with the Rey storyline, and they could go back and do like the Lando Calrissian saga, or
I can't wait for that when it finally happens.
What's Chewbacca's background growing up? Let's talk about that story, or young Yoda, or like why are we still focusing on Rey? She just had 3 movies. Like why can we talk about another character from another storyline?
I'm assuming
they're
What about Captain
also-
Antilles?
They're going to do that, right? So, they're also going to tell the origin story of the Jedi in a movie set, 25,000 years BBY.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome.
Right?
Which I'm waiting for that one. That out of the 3 they announced, that's the one that I think sounds like the most that you could just dig deep into the lore and make some interesting shit happen.
Absolutely.
And there's all kinds of things they could even go from there with, and delve into the origins of the Sith and talk about Darth Plagueis and
Darth Plagueis. It is a tale you'll not often hear from a Jedi.
I think that is actually going to be pretty cool too, and I think that some people may not be super excited about Rey being, the focal point of the next movie, but this central storyline of where it started, right, with the Empire / Republic, and then into the New Republic, and then the prequels with the Old Republic and the High Republic. That central storyline, I think, needs to be the basis, and I think they're going to continue to tell stories along that central storyline, and then branch, right? Then they're going to tell other things that are happening that are ancillary to that main timeline storyline that they're always going to cover, which is why we're going to get this, origin movie of the Jedi. We're going to get this movie that kind of ties up the Filoni-verse in terms of what happens with Mando and, Bo-Katan and Ahsoka. All that's going to come to a head in its own movie as well. So the canvas they have to work with is large.
Yeah. You know what I'm still waiting for? A Shadows of the Empire movie. I loved Shadows of the Empire.
I want a Knights of the Old Republic movie.
That would be good too.
Yep. Yeah, there's all kinds of ways they can go, right? I mean, the depth of the universe itself, just speaking in terms of the story, is large.
Yes.
And there's so many places they could go with an established and Tank, you touched on it, the lore of the universe, but there's also the rules of the universe, right? There's always going to be the Force. There's always going to be good versus evil. There's always going to be fun characters. There's always going to be aliens that you have never seen before. You never know when you're going to get an entire tree full of salacious crumbs.
Oh my god, I was literally thinking that.
Oh my god, Matt, when they ratted out those motherfuckers, I lost my shit. My shit.
That was fantastic.
It was so good. Hey, and did anybody? We're kind of bouncing around a little bit here, but did anybody hear? And we don't know if it's actually Babu Freak or not, but anybody hear Babu Freak actually say, "I'm out, motherfucker"? Because I did.
Yeah.
That's what it sounded like.
What it sounded like to me too.
Exactly what it
sounded. Don't squeeze, bad baby. I'm out, motherfucker.
I don't know if they let him say the full thing, but that's definitely the intent of what he said.
Yeah, I think so too. And when they're working on IG-88, and he just looks at him and goes, "Is Borkin." I love those little guys so much.
Yeah, they're great.
So good. So those are the 3 movies we've got coming. Exciting stuff there. I think you can tell that the even no matter how good the movie is, the reaction to the Rey movie is going to be mixed, right? It's always going to be that segment that's just never going to accept that storyline, but whatever. How about just give me more Star Wars content? That's all I care about.
You're going to get a Luke's bastard storyline?
Yeah.
Traveled off somewhere, hooked up. What, like he did in the extended universe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get us a Mara Jade. Let's go.
That'd be cool.
Right. Another thing that was released that was super cool is they did show a teaser trailer for the new Ahsoka series. Some stuff we knew was coming. They had mentioned Grand Admiral Thrawn's name in Mandalorian season 2, so we knew that was going to be a thing in live action, which is super cool. However, the thing I'm most excited about is we are going to get the live action version of the most psychotic criminal murdering robot in the history of Star Wars. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get live action Chopper. This guy's got a body count that no other individual has. No one's killed more people than Chopper has. Just go watch Rebels and count it up. How many and how little he cares.
Didn't Luke wipe out an army?
Those are droids.
And a space fort and a space base with seemingly hundreds of thousands of people on it.
Yeah, Chopper. I'm telling you, Chopper, man. He's a genocidal maniac, and I love him.
I don't disagree with you. His body count, I think, is still.
Luke's got a good one.
Yeah, Luke killed an entire star base. And we don't know who was on it, but I'm assuming it was more than one person.
Right. Oh yeah, it was absolutely. You're absolutely right. But
yeah, I mean, you can count the guys just in the two target rooms, and the overview station. That's like 40 just in those two rooms.
But yes, we are getting Chopper, which is super cool. My favorite part that came out of it was that Lars Mikkelson.
I love that sound.
Yeah, Tank, you started saying the next thing. Go ahead.
My favorite thing that came out about the Asuka, Ahsoka. Oof. Went WWE for a second there.
Yep.
The Ahsoka story is that we're getting Lars Mikkelson as a Thrawn, which is fucking amazing.
Yeah, that guy's awesome.
Yeah,
that is a fantastic idea. I'm glad that they followed through on that.
Right, because you can get someone who can emulate the voice, but you're never going to get someone to be able to do that voice.
No.
So I'm incredibly excited to see it.
We also got a mention of Thrawn in Mandalorian, so.
Mm-hmm.
A few of them. It started at the end of season 1, right?
Yeah.
Well, I like what they're doing with the Mandalorian, and they're kind of bringing in the characters that we all know, but they're slowly sliding them in from the edges, and I love that they're doing how they're telling that story.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yep. Once we get done here and I finish up the Nuggets game, incidentally, they're up by 18, 3.5 left in the second quarter. So go Nuggets, but as soon as that's over, it's Mandalorian night. And
don't spoil it for me because
I won't.
We're not going to watch it tonight.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it. As hard as it was for me not to be talking the last 3 or 2 months as this has been going on because I don't know where you are. I haven't said a thing, and it's so hard. So I let you tell me where you are, and then we can talk about it.
We got 2 weeks, and then we'll definitely
2 weeks. Yeah, you'll definitely talking about it 2 weeks from tonight.
That's fine. We'll end up watching it before we go on the ship. So
there you go. There you go. Awesome.
Yeah, you guys are disappearing. That's right.
That's right.
Going away. Good for you.
Yep.
All right, more news and notes in the geek world. We've got a teaser trailer out for the Marvels movie. We're definitely going to get all 3 of the current iterations that we've seen either on the big and or little screen. Kind of looks interesting, guys. I'm not really sure what to think of this yet. Going to get at least a little bit of Nick Fury.
Did you watch Miss Marvel?
I watched probably the first 3 episodes. Just trying to keep up with it, and the tone of it just wasn't for me. So I
very much, and it does definitely start out for the first few episodes, like you're saying, it's a kind of that bubbly, teeny pop kind of thing. It goes deeper and darker and gets better. So So when I saw this trailer, I was immediately excited. So I was like, "Oh shit, they're doing it! They're doing all three of them, kind of bringing their own versions of this Marvel power together." And I think the teaser, as much as it's been shit on because apparently no one likes Brie Larson.
Well, that's a political thing.
Yeah. I think she did a good job, to be honest. She's a little cold, but her as Captain Marvel is
She's a
little
hell of an
colder.
actress, and she filled that role. The issue that everyone is having is not her on screen; it is
Mhm.
her as an actress, and in her political stances has turned a lot of people off.
Yeah.
So
Um
I
but
I like Captain Marvel too, but
yeah.
that's not the reason why people don't like Brie Larson.
Yeah, and no, but that's what they're shitting on her for some reason. Um and then they're bringing in Monica Rambeau, who we don't know which version of Monica Rambeau we're getting, because there actually is a couple different call signs for Monica Rambeau. And then of course we got the Miss Marvel now. And I think it's super cool. I think it looks fun. It's definitely going to be. I think they're going to lean into the Miss Marvel kind of version of things and then darken it up a little bit, I'm guessing. But I don't know. I'm excited. And of course, yeah, we get Nick Fury on what I'm assuming is the Sword space base that we still haven't had confirmation on whether or not that's what it is. But
Right. It almost has to
seemingly-
be, right? It almost has to be.
Yeah, like seemingly that is the in Marvel continuity, generally speaking, the giant space base is the Sword base. And I don't know, it looks fun. I think it looks good.
Yeah,
I think that surprise when she shows up in the astronaut suit. Like, wait, what? What happened? Who
yeah,
are you?
hold on. What is this?
Yeah, that was funny to me, just especially because of how they ended the Miss Marvel series. I thought it was really fun to kind of start immediately following that.
All right, I'll have to finish it up then, based on what you told me, because I just couldn't. I couldn't.
Oh, they get into some dark stuff. They go
Okay.
into the Indi-Pakistani war pretty deep.
Oh, okay.
That'll
be interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, like anything Marvel puts out, it's definitely something I'm going to see in the theaters because I see it everything. I'm such a mark for all things Marvel. Take my money here. I'm going to go see it. Let's go.
I got Guardians in a month.
Yeah, next month.
Very soon.
Yeah, very soon.
Not to mention Ant-Man.
Oh, I loved that.
That was so good.
Silly as it was, I thought it was fun.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to other news and notes. Looks like we're going to get another Stargate movie here, guys. One of the longest running single series in terms of multiple platforms and different iterations. But if you just take Stargate from movie to the end of SG-1, it was one of the longest running franchises around.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this. I really enjoyed. First of all, Stargate, the movie itself, holds a special place in my heart. I was one of the people that when DVD players first came out and you bought the DVD player and they gave you movies, you got to pick which ones you got and they would send them to you. It was kind of like the Columbia House without actually having to pay for it. And one of the things I got was Stargate, and I set up my DVD player and my surround sound, and I watched Independence Day and Stargate, and it was awesome.
Two very good movies.
Stargate is great.
Yeah.
And SG-1, the greatest part about SG-1 is it doesn't matter what season you're in. It doesn't matter which episode you're on. You turn an episode on, you're not going to be lost as far as the plot.
Right.
Because everything is, there's no big, long, overarching storyline, really, for the most part. They're all just seized. We're going to run out. We're going to get in trouble. We're going to run back. Almost every episode.
Right.
Oh,
Something comes through the tunnel into the real world. They got to get it back through.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Right.
It's awesome. It's you can fall asleep to it and turn it back on and be like, okay, I know where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feel bad about missing an episode or two.
And towards the end, they kind of hybridized it a little bit. You still would get these big, long arcs, but they were not the primary story. They were just kind of the bits that were coming along as you would put the whole thing together. The meat of the story was, to your point, it's episodic. It's
great.
Yeah. Teal'c gets knocked on the head.
Yeah. Yeah.
Richard Dean Anderson has to figure out a way to get him out.
Right.
I saw a blooper the other day. I don't remember where I saw it, but it just popped up on some feed I was watching, and it was a Stargate blooper. And it was, and the characters always escape me, but Richard Dean Anderson and the blonde, they're stuck somewhere, and they're trying to figure out a way to get out. She looks at him and says, "You can't make like a bomb out of some paper clips and rubber band. You're freaking MacGyver. Come on."
Yeah.
That's hysterical.
That was really good. If I ever see it again, I'll make sure I send it over to you. It was really good, but hopefully it keeps the same tone. I would really like it if they had the tone of the movie as opposed to the series. I think the movie was a little bit deeper, a little bit darker, especially with the gun violence piece and the slavery piece that was really
sacrifices.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's not human, I guess, but
right.
They were human
sacrifices. Yeah,
right. Right.
And then it looks like they're doing both. Well, we don't know what they're doing yet, but in development is both movie and series projects. So,
hey, it made money once. Why not try it again?
Yeah, I mean, what is entertainment anymore but a reboot?
Yeah,
I mean, why not? I'll watch it. What the hell?
Yeah.
All right, and last but not least, we got an announcement in the last couple of days of more Star Trek content. First, they did give us a release date for Brave New Worlds. That's coming up in June. So that's going to be exciting. Love to see some.
Can't wait for that.
Brave New World has been great.
Yeah.
That show's been so good.
Yeah. Just the episodic and the lighting, like it just calls back to original track.
It's so over the top original track, and it's great.
Yeah. But they are coming out with a Section 31 movie featuring our girl, Michelle Yeoh, returning as Emperor Giorgio.
Awesome.
Love it.
Right.
I loved the old Section 31 stuff from Deep Space Nine, and I think there was a few of them in Next Gen too. And then when they got to Discovery, they just had it everywhere.
Right.
So I'm excited, and the character she played in that was awesome. Both sides of the character, the original and then the duplicate from the alternate world.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to be basing this on, I'm assuming, at least mainly on the book series, right?
They haven't said. They haven't said. So I think this is going to be what the adventures of Giorgio after she, wanders off, and I'm going to Section 31. See you later.
Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering because there is like an almost 20-year period of books in there that ended not long ago. Wasn't it like 2017, 2018, something like that?
Yeah, who knows? They'll probably pull some of that.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Just stick that character in those.
Right.
Let her do what she wants as she floats through the universe, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's it, right?
Yeah, that's all we got. Tank, before we blow this pop stand, do you want to talk about the things and pimp the stuff? And
not blowing any for anybody at a pop stand, but can find me at Tank Knox or Knox Nostalgic Collectibles on all the socials. I'll be back here, obviously, with NTK, and then on alternating weeks with the other goons. Gonna have interesting talk next week, I think, about some recent contract signings in the NFL.
Yeah. On that note, you guys are on your own next week.
Okay.
I'm in Nashville.
We may just go next week. We'll do it next week. You and me, Tank.
All right.
We'll bust one out.
There you go.
But the next week after that, we won't be here.
Okay. We'll nerd it up without you. We'll see if we can grab dipshit. That's a lot of fun.
Go watch some sci-fi shit. It's actually really cool and interesting history if you really want to dive into it, especially in the movie universe.
Sci-fi shit.
Yeah, that's what we let off with. Go watch Metropolis.
Oh, go watch some sci-fi. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
It's like we've been talking about sci-fi.
Go dive into any of the things that we mentioned that you haven't seen.
There you go.
Check it out.
Yep, check it out. Yeah. And please reach out to us. We're happy to give you recommendations, talk about what we like, what we didn't like. Happy to have those conversations. We're here to help people explore the universes that they want to explore. There are different fandoms that each of us are larger and smaller parts of. So there's something you want to ask us about, we'll talk about it, because there's someone on this panel, either current or former or in a bubble bath, who will be happy to talk to you about what that particular fandom is. I'm walking my youngest through Game of Thrones. He's watching it from the beginning. He's never seen it before. So it's fun to watch it and get text. Oh, yeah. It's like, oh, I hate Joffrey. Why? He killed Ned. Like, oh, my God.
Oh, you have no idea.
I'm like, oh, my sweet, innocent child of summer. You have
no idea.
I know.
It gets so much worse.
Oh, so much worse.
So much worse.
So much worse. Yeah, it's just fun to watch the reactions and hear him talk about it. So, Mark, you got any final thoughts?
No.
Eloquent as always. Thank you. Make sure you catch the Nerds That Know on all of the social channels. You can also follow the Goon Squad, My Brothers an Idiot podcast, of which these three guys are all a part of as well. On Facebook, the Nerds That Know Twitter is at Nerds That Know. The Goon Squad Twitter is at The Idiot Goons. That's where you'll find us on Twitch. Mark's Twitter is at Poffeltime. Mine's at Poffelupicus. And you can catch me on TikTok at King Goon Smoke. As always, it has been our pleasure to explore nerddom with you all. Hope you have a wonderful and safe week. Go Nuggets. Last I checked, they were up by 18.
Carry a big stick and masturbate furiously.
All right, take care of yourselves, take care of your families, take care of each other. We'll catch you next time. I'm fucking out of here. Goodbye.